We'll talk about it. So I'm going to start with a few here. I got 8, and they're a variety of different things. So let's start with the first one. A big discovery for me in 2024 was Spotify audiobooks. I did not know. I've been a premium member for probably 5 or 6 years or more, Spotify. And I had no idea that you can listen to full and download full audiobooks on Spotify. And I'll give you some of the examples that I have on my Spotify now. But some people have like a audio or Audible subscription where they listen to ebooks. But Spotify actually offers that as part of their package, part of their premium account. So what have I been? I have The Obstacles Away by Ryan Holiday. That's a very good Stoicism book. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. The Magic of Thinking Big. Mandibles is on here. Meditations from Marcus Aurelius. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. One of probably my favorite golf book. And I think that's it. That's the ones I have on here right now. But I had no idea that you could listen to audiobooks, or they're included in premium. So you can get quite a few audiobooks on Spotify. So if you're a member on there, just check it out. Go to home and then scroll over to audiobooks. And you can see Man's Search for Meanings on there. I think I downloaded The Sovereign Individual as well last week. But I had no idea. Also on Spotify. Oh. Also on Spotify now. What? The Bitcoin Amigos soundtrack is now on Spotify officially as of Christmas Day. So Chris uploaded the new soundtrack, Bitcoin Amigos, onto Spotify. So if you don't have Wave Lake, or you never took the jump there, you can now download the album. You can add the songs to your playlists. The Bitcoin Amigos is now on Spotify. Okay, I got to top up my balance here on Zapstream. Okay, so that's number one. That is number one. Spotify audiobooks. Okay, hold on here. Top up. We need to pay our rent. We need to pay our dues on Zapstream. Okay, we're paid. We are paid. All right, so number 2 here. Number 2 is the password generator on Coldcard. I did a full show on this on the multi-generational wealth course, which, by the way, is included in all the memberships on Patreon. So I would say, if nothing else, there's 7 episodes on there of different things within Bitcoin to help you protect your Bitcoin and different things to know, best practices, UTXO stuff. And I did a show on passwords a couple weeks ago. But I've completely changed my setup, or I'm working on it anyways, because my life was completely overwhelmed with a whole bunch of passwords, and each one was different. It had a different email address, different password, different combination of the two. And it was very stressful. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people watching this who can relate to that. So what I've really tried to do in my own setup is use the Coldcard password generator for the very important passwords. So that could be your Gmail account, your what else is important? I don't know. Like you really have to look at what accounts you use for every day. And let's say my Bitcoin Well account got hacked. Do I care? What's the worst case? Somebody's going to buy some Bitcoin for me? No. So things like that, I just use the same password now. It's a complex password, but it's kind of the same for all of them. And you have to keep in mind here, if somebody got access to this account, what could they do? So again, with Bitcoin Well or something like that, or what's another one here? My Calendly or my Spotify account. What's the worst that they could do? So think about your passwords like that. Like break them down of very important passwords. Use something like Cold Card, use something like Proton, password generator, store those in a safe place. And then everything else, you can kind of just use something that you're familiar with and that you're going to remember. Because it caused me a lot of grief in the past of trying to keep track of passwords and that kind of stuff. So one thing I'm really working on for 2025 is getting my whole online life organized. And the password generator on Cold Card is a big part of that for the very important passwords. Oh, we got Alan. Look at this. Alan's up 420 sats to the Zap stream. All the best in 2025. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for that. Okay, next one here. The next one here is the Android phone. So I've been an iPhone user my entire life, ever since we had the T9 and Snake games on the flip phones. But I think my first phone was the iPhone 3. And I've been an iPhone user since then, back in probably 2006-ish. I've only used iPhones. And this year, 2024, I took the leap. I've been wanting to do this for a few years now, but I took the leap to Android. And the first couple of weeks were a little bit tough, but after that, I'll never go back to owning an iPhone now. The Androids just have so much more functionality and capability between nostr stuff, between Bitcoin stuff. It's just much better than iPhones. The one thing that iPhones did have going for them was the iMessage, the group chats. And a month ago, if you updated your iPhone now, you're actually fully compatible with Android. So I've gone back to group chats now that I was kind of kicked out of for 6 or 7 months while I had an Android. But now with this new update for iPhones, Apple have actually allowed them to communicate back and forth very easily. Before, if I wanted to send a text to an iPhone, it was done with an SMS text, which was like flip phone days. That's what Apple did to Android users. They wouldn't allow them to get on the same, I think it's called RCS now. So anyways, the Android to me has been one of my best purchases and best discoveries of 2024. And if you are somebody out there who's been thinking about moving to Android, I would highly suggest it. Especially if you're a Bitcoiner, especially if you're on Nostr. Amethyst to me is by far the best Nostr client that exists out there. And it's only available right now on Android. You just have way more access to stuff. With iPhones, you're very limited to the apps and stuff that you can have on your phone because it's all through the App Store. But with Android, there's the world's your oyster, basically. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to download on your phone, you can with Android. So that's my number 3 is the Android. Let me catch some. Yeah, the bots are kind of taking over here. Oh well. We need to give out some wrenches here, I think. Tom says, I found that Android didn't last as long for me. I also didn't want anything to do with Google Play Store. Apple locks you into their ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you have to, there's a whole bunch of different things you can do with Android in terms of like the software that you run, what you use to download them. But for me, like, I don't know, I have no issues with the Google Play Store. It shows the apps that are verified and especially if you use something like Zap Store. Like that's been a big one for me in 2024 is the Zap Store. Oops. Zap.store. So if you're on Android, make sure you get the Zap Store app. It's kind of buggy still, but you can download a whole bunch of things without going through Google Play or anything like that. And it'll give you like, there's a thing, Essentials by Gigi. It has apps for Nostr. It has apps for Bitcoin, for organization. Vidor Pomplana, which is the guy who made Amethyst. His selections on here. It's really cool. So it's kind of like a Nostr based app store. It's called zap.store. So I don't know how many people are using that or have heard of that before, but it's been a great resource for me. Okay, well, maybe let's get into this next one then here. Voluntarism says Bitcoin self-custody also solves the problem of scammers because it's impossible for scammers to gain access to your account if you never give them your 12-word seed phrase. My 12-word seed phrase is on a block plate, and I use Sparrow for my Bitcoin. Well, Sparrow's good. But let's talk about this, because this is my next discovery here of 2024, which is super backed. And I actually probably should have put this at number one, because this is my favorite discovery so far of 2024, super backed. And we actually did a full discussion on this. So this is kind of where I'm going to redirect you right now to listen to why I'm so excited about super backed. I'll give you a video to watch on it. What the hell? Fucking YouTube. Okay. Focus. So if you go to the Bitcoin Amigos channel here, let me bring this up. We just posted a video on this yesterday talking about super backed. So first of all, make sure to go subscribe to the Bitcoin Amigos channel. That's number one. But number two, you can watch this video called Secure Your Bitcoin with Encryption. And I did kind of an overview. It's 11 minutes long, but I did an overview. Maybe I'll just add it to the... As you go through Bitcoin, So somebody in the chat, Danny, asked a little bit more about the super backed method of self-custody. So I'm going to add this video to the show notes here for people to check out, just to save 11 minutes on the show here. But definitely go check that out. Start looking at super backed. If you do have any questions about super backed, or you want to set up a phone call, oh, let me stop sharing this. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so that's added to the very top now. So it says super backed and then the video there. You can go watch that. It's 11 minutes long and gives you a full breakdown of what super backed is. But it's a way to store your backup phrase, mostly an encrypted way to store it. Because if you think about it, and this is kind of what I struggle with, but again, this is what I've done for the last 4 years. And I'm not saying that having your seed phrase in a safe place is a bad idea, or putting it on steel is a bad idea. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, if you really think about the process of your hardware device, your main signing device, and how encrypted, how secure it is, you need a PIN code to access it. And if somebody came across your signing device, they couldn't do anything with your Bitcoin because they wouldn't have your PIN code. They couldn't access be able to sign a transaction and move Bitcoin out of your wallet. So you keep that. And I think that most people actually, the majority of Bitcoiners, I believe, keep their hardware device and their 12 words in the same spot. So you went through the process of putting everything into a very secure, encrypted device that only you can access. And then right beside it, if somebody were to find those 12 words, your backup phrase, they don't even need to go through your signing device. It defeats the whole purpose of it. So you have something that's very secure, very encrypted in your hardware device, and then you keep the backup to that on a piece of paper in plain text. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make fun of people here, because I went through 4 years of this myself without realizing how stupid that is. So with super backed, it gives you encryption for your backup phrase. So you have your hardware device that's encrypted, and you now have your 12 words, your backup phrase, which is also encrypted. And what I want to do with my own setup is that if somebody came to my house, they couldn't do anything. They would have to either hack into my cold card, but that's it. There's no 12 words laying around anywhere. There's nothing for them to find that they could steal and access my Bitcoin with. I want to have as little of a trace of Bitcoin in this house as possible. And whatever I do have kicking around is all encrypted. So that was a huge discovery for me. And it was actually kind of recently, which was SuperBacked. So we've already helped several people with SuperBacked. We got about 5 or 6 meetings in the early 2025 lined up for SuperBacked. So if that makes sense to you, if you'd rather secure your backup phrase and instead of on a block plate in an encrypted way, then you can just reach out and we'll set up a phone call. There's no cost for you to do it. We'll just discuss, give you some info, see if it makes sense for you, and then you can decide yourself if it does. But don't, I know there's a lot of people thinking like it's a very intimidating thing. It's not. You're going to have 2 of us, very capable, who can walk you through the whole thing, tell you exactly what you need to do, what you need to go ahead with it, and basically hold your hand through the whole thing. And I hope that a lot of people in this community do take that seriously and do start encrypting their security setup. Andrew says, finding out cold card and sending over from Ledger. Best discovery. That's a good call. That's a good safe call. And again, SuperBacked is not going to replace your cold card. Keep that in mind. So it's very customizable. It's very flexible. So with whatever you have, even if you had like a Ledger right now and you added SuperBacked on top of that, that's a far better way of doing things. And the other thing about that too is the inheritance side of things. So you want to be in a position where if something were to happen to you today or tomorrow or in a month from now, your family will be able to access your Bitcoin. Otherwise, you spent all of your time, all of your energy learning, earning Bitcoin. And if something were to happen to you, that is just, it seems like a waste of a life to me. And I get it. Some people don't have anybody to send it to or to pass it on to. That's a different story. But I think most people are buying Bitcoin for their family, for the future. And if you're just procrastinating and being lazy about this, that could be a very big punishment for your family after you went through everything that you did to get here. But you procrastinated, you got lazy, and you didn't set up a good inheritance protocol with it. That's a problem. So with the SuperBack package, we also have like an inheritance protocol that gives you a full list of everything you need to do, which involves SuperBacked in the process. And so just to ensure that if something were to happen to you unexpectedly, your Bitcoin is going to be fine. So you get your encryption, current setup, and you get the inheritance side for in case of any issues that come up. Hey, somebody said, good morning, 88 sats, and sent 88 sats. Oh, it was Daniel over on the Zap stream. Thank you, Daniel. 88 sats into Arnie's wallet. I have all these connected to Arnie's wallet now. He's making more than I am right now. But anyways, Leoms, good morning. Okay, that's a good question, and let's tie this into SuperBacked. So how it works, this isn't like, so the question is, in the point of Bitcoin self-custody to eliminate counterparty risk where you do not rely on third parties? Yes. I don't trust companies because leadership changes. That's the nice thing about this, is the SuperBacked software it's not open source, but you can go and verify the code. It's on GitHub. You can go look at it. Many people have looked at the code. And so you download that on your computer, on your hard drive. You fully disconnect it from the internet on a different laptop than you're used to, like an old laptop. You get it on there. You open it up. You never have to worry about updating it. There's going to be no updates to your wallet. It's just going to sit there. And as long as you have a copy of that, regardless of what happens to your laptop or your whole setup, you're always going to be able to download that, scan your QR code, enter in your password, and your secret will be unlocked. So this isn't being held somewhere else. It's just a piece of software that you download. You disconnect from the internet. You air gap your laptop fully. You're never going to have to update this again as long as you keep a copy of the software on a backup. And that's part of the protocol here that myself and Craig, we both keep a copy in case you lose it. But you don't have to update it. You get it on there. You completely disconnect it from the internet. That's what you use it for. You never update it. You never, unless you need it, you don't look at it. And it's never connected to the internet, just like a cold card. Think of like this is like a big cold card that you're backing things up onto. You're not going to sign any transactions there, but it's fully encrypted, fully air gapped, and you don't have to update it ever. So why am I so blurry? And again, I'm not asking you to trust me on it. I'm not. If you've seen who created this, if you understand the open source aspect of it, if you see who's involved with this project, even somebody is an investor in it, it took him a couple of years to fully trust and understand the whole process here. And so again, don't just take my word for it. Look into this yourself, make sure it makes sense, set up a call, ask any questions that you have, and then decide for yourself. Okay, the next one here is AI tools that I've been using. And I don't really think of myself as like an AI expert or anything like that, but I also don't really realize how often I use AI now in my day-to-day life. And the 3 AI tools that I use the most this year were Venice.ai, an application called Claude, which I've been using most out of all of these, and then Perplexity. So it's not like you just use one and that's it. And I really encourage people to download some of these, start using some of these, find what works for whatever you need it for, and kind of incorporate them all into your day-to-day life. So with Venice, I pretty much just use Venice for images more than anything else. Sometimes I ask questions, but mostly just images. Claude is like a full-on assistant for me. Like I'll have a full-out conversation with AI, Claude. And the nice thing about Claude compared to like Venice is that it'll keep going with your conversation. It's not just a one-time question and answer. It's a question, an answer, and how else can I help you? What else can we base this conversation off of? What else can we do with this information? So that's why I love Claude. And then Perplexity is more like a better Google. So it's much more up to date. I haven't really fully utilized Perplexity. I've just been kind of playing around with it. Whenever I want to Google something, I either use nostr or I use Perplexity. Whenever I need an image, I use Venice. And whenever I want to find more ideas or brainstorm or get information from, I use Claude. So those are kind of my 3 things that I would try out for if you're somebody who's just getting into AI: Venice, Claude, and Perplexity. That's where I would start. They've all been extremely helpful in my day-to-day. The next one here that I want to talk about is the Speed Wallet. And the reason I love the Speed Wallet is because it's fast, for one, very fast with Lightning. It has all the functionalities of a Lightning wallet. And up until Speed Wallet, for the people in the US, I really didn't have a good recommendation for a Lightning wallet for people in the US to use. But I've been using Speed Wallet. I've been using it more than Wallet of Satoshi even in Canada here. And it's a really good wallet. It has a lot of functionality. It gives you a Lightning URL. You can store Bitcoin on there. There's different things you can do on there. It's actually fully connected to hold on. I'm trying to think how you can buy and sell, or how you can buy gift cards. Shop. Who's this connected with? Bitrefill. So on the Speed Wallet app, you can actually buy things on there through Bitrefill. So I've been using Bitrefill for a while now. You can buy gift cards with your Bitcoin without any KYC, which is really cool. All you need is an email address. You don't have to verify any information there. So you can use Speed app to connect automatically with Bitrefill in the shop. And you can hold BTC, you can hold USDT, And I believe everything is held on Lightning. So you get your Lightning address. You can customize it. There's mine. I just docked my balance there. Oops. Oh, well. It's still crazy to me that 145,000 sats is worth 192 Canadian dollars. Wild. So that's Speed Wallet. That's what I would suggest everybody tries out, especially if you're in the US. And if you're looking for a really solid Lightning wallet, you can use the Speed Wallet. And I think in my show notes, you can use a referral code in there to get some free sats for yourself. And that is EPN SI5. Some people have had success with it. Some people have not. But you actually have to enter that in right when you're signing up at the very first page. So that's the referral code. I think you get like 500 free sats for that. And I think that's it. Oh, no, one more. So the last discovery I had here was Earl Nightingale. I don't know how I went my whole life without knowing about Earl Nightingale, but I started listening to some of his old audiobooks and his clips on YouTube. And it is incredible the amount of change I've had in my life because of that. So this is all free. You can just YouTube, you can search Earl Nightingale and just start listening to a few things. There's clips on there that are 15 minutes long, half an hour long, 2 hours long, a full audiobook of his. But if you're looking for some like change in perspective, change in motivation, I guess, self-improvement stuff, look no further than Earl Nightingale. And they're just none in particular, but just start listening to some of his stuff. I'll give you maybe my favorite video from Earl. It's actually, it's really well done. It has some graphics and hold on. Oh yeah, here it is. It's called The Strange Secret to Success. Maybe we'll watch a minute of it here. So this was originally published in 1957. After school account here, they did like a full visual of it.
I'd like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world. Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think." It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone.
So that is Earl. Check him out, especially now for like the New Year's folks. I'm probably going to spend tomorrow's show talking about New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, and maybe a different way to think about some of it. But Earl, that's somebody we paid very close attention to this year in the Living in the Future. We watched dozens of his videos, and it's made a very big impact on how I look at things now. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check out Earl Nightingale on YouTube for free. And I think my biggest lesson that I've learned from Earl is basically the law of the universe that suggests that any rewards you get in life, money, friends, any rewards is always in direct proportion to the amount of value that you add for others. So if you're not adding any value, don't expect any sort of reward to come in. And there are certain situations where that's, out of sync a little bit, whether that's somebody wins the lottery or some sort of natural disaster. But for the most part, the law of the universe is that the rewards that you receive in life are in direct proportion to the value that you create for others. And if you apply that, you really approach every day differently. I did anyway, so I can't really speak for everybody, but That's Earl Nightingale. So definitely check him out on YouTube.